Welcome to the All-Star Math Video Tutor. This is Mrs. Dorless, and the topic of this lesson is slope. Now, slope describes the tilt of a line on a graph, or it's the relationship between the points found on the line. Now, we can take a look at slope, and we read slope from left to right. This line, as we can see, is going uphill, so we consider it to be a positive slope. This next line is going downhill as we look from left to right and is considered a negative slope. Both of these slopes we could actually walk. One would be uphill, one would be downhill. As long as we can walk on it, the slope has a value. Now, we also can have a slope that's horizontal, that goes straight across parallel to the x-axis. The slope of this line is 0 because we can still walk on it. What happens when we get a slope, though, that's parallel, that shows a line parallel to the y-axis? Well, this time we can't walk on this, so we consider this a slope that's undefined. Now, again, we talk about slope being a relationship, so let's talk about a little bit more in formula also. The slope is represented by the small letter m. It is the rise of a line over the run of the line and is represented by the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It represents the vertical change of a line over the horizontal change in a line. We can see in this particular line here that this is going downhill from left to right, and that shows that it has a relationship that as the x increases, the y is decreasing. Therefore, it has a negative relationship. You will notice that slope is a fraction, otherwise known as a ratio. Let's take a look at an example. Let's find the slope of a line that contains the points -1, 1 and 3, 4. Using the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, let's assign point values here. We know that every coordinate contains an x and a y. But this is going to be the first point, so we're going to use a 1 here to show that this is point 1 and a 2 here to show that this is point 2. Do not confuse this with exponents. This has absolutely nothing to do with exponents. These sub numbers here is just to show us which is point 1 and which is point 2. So now all we're going to do is look at these points and substitute it into the formula. y2 being 4 minus y1, which is 1 in the numerator. In the denominator, we would have x2, which is 3, minus, because that's what it has in the formula, x1, which is -1. Now we're going to go ahead and simplify this. 4 minus 1, which is 3. And here we have two negative signs next to each other. A negative times a negative gives us a positive, so 3 plus 1 is 4. And the slope of this line is going to be 3/4. Now, we're going to graph this next just to show how this works out and to prove that the slope is true. Here we go with the coordinate plane. We're going to plot the point -1, 1. So here's -1 and 1. So we'll put a dot there. And we'll put another one at 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and +4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I'm going to grab a line. In this line here, we can see that we can count up and over. So let's count up and over from these points and see if it's true. To travel from this point to this point. It's like traveling addresses. So if we were to go to our friend's house, we wouldn't cut across yards. We'd go up the street and over. So we'd go 1, 2, 3 blocks up and 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks over. Again, the change in y over the change in x. So we went 3 blocks up, 4 blocks over. This is the slope of our line. So that's another way for us to be able to find the slope if we were actually looking at the graph. That is the end of this All-Star Math video lesson.